So now I'm going to attach my album to my covers. What I do is I'm going to remove this tape here. I'm going to attach the ribbons to the album with some tacky tape. Now my ribbons were a little bit short when I started working on this album, so they don't quite go to the middle of the page. I add a bit of tacky glue. To the inside. And then I just paste it down. Don't pull too tight. You don't want to pull too tight on your spine. And just tack it down. I can remove this old tape that was just holding it down while I was stitching it. There we go. I just want to remove this tape because it's going to be sticky when I tape the bottom, when I tape the ribbons to the bottom of the album. Okay. I should have just used Scotch tape. Okay, so that's going to dry. In the meantime, I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Yeah, my ribbon's a lot longer on this side. I could have trimmed that down a bit, but it doesn't matter. You don't want it too tight. You want to be able to have a little bit of expansion in your pages. My glue nozzle is a little bit gummed up. I'll have to clean that off. let that dry for a minute. And I think I'll take the opportunity to clean the nozzle on my glue. Now, I'm going to start by attaching my album to the back cover. Make sure your cover is positioned with the spine to the right, like that, and that your album is facing the right direction, like that, with the flap that pulls down and the flaps that pull to the right. So make sure it's in the proper direction. And basically your album is just going to glue to the left edge of the back cover so that it's flush and the little beads will be sticking out a bit, like that. Okay, so your cardstock here will be just flush with the edge of your album, just a little bit inside here, but your beads are going to stick out over the edge. Okay, so we're going to start by putting tape around the edge of the liner. This is the back liner piece here. And I'm going to put some tape here about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge over the ribbon. Then I put more tape across here. You want this to be very sturdy. You don't want your cover to shift around or come off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my tape backing, and I'm going to add some tacky glue too, because it's much stronger than just tape. It's still gummed up. I would put a bit next to that piece of tape on the left edge. You don't want too much, but you want some coverage. Okay. Okay, so again, you want to make sure you've got your album positioned in the proper direction, and you're going to glue it just flush with the edge of your album. It can be just the slightest bit inside, maybe even line it up with the inside cover. There we go, like that. And press down. Make sure it's well adhered. And the back cover is attached. So now I'm going to attach the front cover, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have to clear this nozzle. I'm going to put some two-sided tape along the left edge, about 1/8 on the inside of the left edge. Around the other edges. And across. So I'm going to finish adhering my cover in the next video. So I'm going to remove my tape backing, and I'm going to add some tacky glue, and then I'm going to lay my cover down again so that it's flush with the edge of the album. So I've removed my tape backing, and I've added tacky glue to the front of the album, and I'm going to put my cover on. So I'm going to place it flush with the edge. Make sure it's straight. Whoops. Try it again. Yeah, that's good. And press down. There, so now my covers are attached, and I'm going to let that dry a bit. So now it's time to attach my ribbon closure. My closure is going to be attached about 2 inches from the top and 2 inches from the bottom. I'm going to set 2 eyelets, and my eyelets are going to hold the ribbon that's going to be used to attach the album closed. So what I want to do is I'm going to make myself a template for the eyelets. I take a piece of paper the same height as my album, and I fold it in 2. And I'm going to punch my holes 2 inches from the bottom. That's about here. punch my hole there, about 2 inches from the bottom. So now I'm going to use this as a template, and my holes will be punched evenly across the top and the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it as a template. So I want my holes to be set. It's going to be about, I think, about ½ an inch from the edge. Yeah, it's going to be about ½ an inch from the edge of the narrow front cover piece here. So let's see if that's about ½ an inch. Yeah, it should actually be a little bit closer to the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my template, my holes, and I'm going to measure ½ an inch, and I'm going to position my hole there. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to put a little mark there. Okay. Then again, from the top, I go ½ an inch from the edge. Will be about here. Now I have a design in my paper, so I can also use that to mark the distance. I know my hole is here, and it's going to be about there. There. Okay, so that's approximate, but by using this, you'll know you'll have an even distance the left and the right of your cover, top and bottom. So now, what I'm going to do is punch my holes. Make sure I'm using the right hole size. Should be easier to open the album. And I'm going to go ahead and set my eyelets. Black ones that I use. When you set your eyelets, you don't want to press too hard so that you damage your cover, but you want it to be secure. So now what I can do is I can close my album and line up where the eyelets will be on the other piece of my album. Now, because my crocodile only goes in so far, I want to make sure that my holes are going to meet properly. So I'm going to take a piece of paper and just see how far I can go and make sure that my hole can line up properly. There, so that's just barely meets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I don't go too far in, because my crocodile only goes up to here, and I don't want to go too far in. So this fits just perfectly. By using the 1/2 inch there, it's going to be about 1 inch in on my album. So I line this up, and I'm going to mark where my eyelets will go, and I can do the front of my album. And it's easier if I pin it up. If your crocodile doesn't suit the thickness of cardboard you're using, they do have some manual eyelet setters. This is pretty tight. It's a pretty tight squeeze for mine. Any thicker and I would have to use a manual, the ones that you use with the hammer. I'm going to squeeze this without tearing the paper. Yeah, perfect. There's one. Again, you don't want to squeeze too hard so that it bends the cover. Okay. And there we go. Now, if you wanted to mat the inside of your paper and you wanted your matting to go all the way to the edge, you would do that before you add your eyelets. But I'm going to leave mine like this. I might just put a little pocket here with the tag inside it or something, or I might even do some matting and just have my matting go up to the edge here. So now we're ready to do the inside, and I'm going to put a pocket here. I'm going to see if I want to go ahead and mat that. And when we come back, we're going to add our pockets, and we're going to make the waterfall for the cover, and we're going to feed our ribbon through the album to close it. I've decided to go ahead and mat my inside covers on both sides, and I'm going to apply my pocket on the bottom edges. So I've got my 2 pieces cut. I've punched a decorative border on my edge. I've scored my ends, and I fold these under to form the pocket. And then this will just fit in the bottom of my page like that. So because my my piece, my holes, my eyelets are a bit more inside the cover. I decided I didn't want my pocket to stick out beyond there, so what I did is I cut it a little bit shorter so that it just fits my matting. If I didn't have my matting, then I wouldn't mind having the pocket extend out, but because I've decided to mat, I'd rather just have my pocket suit the matting. So what I do is I put tape on each hinge that's formed from when I went ahead and scored. Now I fold my seams under, and I'm going to flip over, and I'm going to put a piece of tape along the bottom. There, so I remove that, and I attach my pocket to the front page. And then I do the same thing for the back pocket. Because I've decided to do one on the back as well. In the instructions it only shows one pocket, but I decided to put one both at the front and the back. You can just put one pocket if you want. I like making each album a little bit different. There, so my pockets are done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare my waterfall. The waterfall will fit on the left edge of the album. This is my waterfall base, and I got my pieces cut ready to attach to the base of the waterfall. So these are the pieces that are going to form my pages. It's pre-printed cardstock. And it's very sturdy, so I'm going to leave it white on the back for journaling. So I've got my 6 pieces for the pages, and this is my last waterfall piece. This piece will just attach to the bottom of the waterfall like that. But these are the pieces here I need to score and add tape so that I can attach them. So what I do is on the 3 3/4 inch side, I'll just flip these over. Here on the 3 3/4 inch side, I score 1/2 inch from the top. So I'm going to form a hinge, so that would be 3 1/4. this is going to fit onto my waterfall. Okay, so now I'm going to score my hinges. Actually, I folded this one in the wrong direction. I want my text to face up. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut another piece. I didn't have any more of the same, so I'll just use this type instead. So there's my top. I'm scoring at 1/2 inch from the flex. Now I apply tape along the hinge of each piece. So I apply the tape at the top and the hinge folds back. Okay, so my pieces are ready to assemble. I'm going to start assembling my waterfall, and I start with the very bottom piece, which is the narrower piece, and that's going to be attached to the bottom of my base piece, leaving about 1/8 of an inch on either side and the bottom. because I want that little border to show. And make sure it's straight, because if it's crooked, then all your other pieces are going to be crooked too. That's pretty good. Okay, now I put my pieces in order, my pages, the way I want them to appear in the album. And I'm going to work my way, starting from the bottom up to the top. So what I'm going to do is line up the hinge against the very last piece, making sure it's straight. So I line this up. Like that. Then I take the next piece and I do the same thing, lining it up against the top of the last piece I just attached. The next one. And the last piece. There we go. Now what I do is I'm going to trim the very top of the base piece so that it has about 1/8 of an inch left on top as well. Like that. Now I'm ready to attach my hinges for the top and the bottom closures. What I do, I took my top piece and I punched a decorative border at the end. And then I'm going to place my strip along my scoreboard, and I'm going to score 1/2 inch from the end, and that's going to form the hinge. Like that. And I do the same thing for my other piece. I score 1/2 inch, and this one I like to round the corners. Then I add my two-sided tape to the bottom of my hinge, and then the same thing for this piece. And I'm I'm going to attach that to my waterfall. So I start with my top piece. I'm going to make sure it's well centered, like so. And then I remove my tape and attach. And I do the same with the bottom. I line it up so that it's centered. And I can use my design, my punch design, to help line that up straight. There we go. Now I need to attach my magnets. And the way I attach my magnets, it's really simple. I take my first magnet and I'm going to place it around here on my top piece. I'm going to mat this, so I don't want to place it up so high that when I mat you're going to see the magnet. So place it so that it won't be visible when you cover it with paper, and put a piece of tape across it, like so. Now you're going to want this to line up with another magnet that's going to be stuck on this piece here. Now the easy way to do this is you just drop the second magnet on top of the first, cut a very small piece of two-sided tape and remove the backing, stick it on the magnet, not on the side where it'll stick to the cardstock, just on the magnet itself. A little glob of tape, just like that. Then what you do with your bottom piece folded up, close your top piece and make sure that it's well centered, and press down over your magnet. Now when you open it up, your magnet is stuck and it's in the perfect position. So what you would do then is add another piece of two-sided tape on top to hold it down. Then you're also going to mat this part and the inside here and on this side. Like that. I'm going to mat mine a bit later. Now I'm going to want to tape my waterfall to my album. Now before I do that, I'm going to grab a piece of ribbon and this isn't necessarily the ribbon that I'm going to use, but I'm going to just use it to keep my album closed, because I want to be able to align my waterfall perfectly. I'll find a ribbon that suits the baby boy album a bit better. Okay, so now I'm going to tie my album closed temporarily. Now I can see where my waterfall is going to fit. I like adding a little border at the top and bottom of my waterfall. Let's see what I can use here. And I'll use this. Or no, maybe I'll use something else. That. Yeah, I'll use this. I'm just going to punch a little border. That, and I'm going to trim that about there. Oh, here's a piece that was already punched. I can use that. What I'm going to do is put a strip of tape down here. Okay, we're going to finish attaching this in the next video. I went ahead and I matted my strips here while I was off camera, and I rounded my corners on my paper before adhering it, because I rounded the corners on my my cardstock. Now, when you mat over the magnet area, remove that tape backing that you put on to secure the magnet and tape on the cardstock, and it'll just hold the magnet in place on the paper when you mat over it. So there we go. Now I changed my mind, and instead of those other little borders, I decided to use a shiny paper. So I made little borders out of that. So I'm going to remove the tape backing. It's easier if I do this upside down. And just center it on there. Oops, not quite. Not quite. There, like that. And then that's going to go on there. And I do the same thing with the bottom piece. Now I can add tape to my waterfall, and I'm going to stick it onto my album. I'm going to put quite a bit of tape because I want it to be secure. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up between the edge of my front closure there and the left edge of the album and the top and the bottom of the album. Put a strip down here. Okay. There's a design in my paper, so that's going to help line it up too. There we go. I'm going to undo this now so that I can press hard to adhere that. There we go. So the construction of the album is finished. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some tags from the paper collection, or I can make my own tags if I want, to add embellishments inside of the album. Because this album is stitched, you're not going to want to put too many thick embellishments in there because it's going to bulk up a little bit funny. It's geared especially for photos, so you don't want to put big bulky embellishments in here. And so I'm going to put just a few tags in there, and then I'm going to embellish the top of my album, and I might put something on the side here like I did on the Primrose album, and I'll show you the whole album once it's completed with my embellishments, and I'll show you how I did those. So here's my completed album. I'll take you through it page by page. You can see my matting and the tags that I put in there, and I'll go over some of the embellishments. This is a little flower. I punched out 2 layers and I attached them together, and I put a little pearl in the middle, and so these are the little petals that I punch, and then I just fold them up like that, and then I layer them. And I put a little bit of glitter glue on there. I touched it. And this is this little die cut I colored in like the baby boy. So this opens up here, and this is my waterfall. And on the side of the album, my beading. Little blocks. My little die cut on the back to put a date. And these are cabbage carnations that I attached to the side. My little ribbon. And on this side, I like doing that. I put a piece of cardstock here where they can write a name or a date, and more little flowers that I made. I like the colors. Okay, so here's my front of the album. I put Rockabye Baby here. That's wording that came with my paper stack. That was the baby boy from Die Cuts with a View. And a little tag that came also with the paper stack. I just mounted it on this cardstock. And then my tag in my hidden pocket. Here I put tag again that was in the paper stack, and I just taped it on the bottom so you can slide something behind there, a photo. And then here's my fold up, my side flap, my tag, my side tag. Another little tag here, and a little tag there. My hidden pocket. Another tag here where they can put a few words. Another tag. I really like this paper collection. Here, they can write something on there. I say they because I'm going to be listing this on eBay. I'm not keeping the album. Hello, cutie. I forgot I have to put my tag in there, my side tag. Favorite toys, and they can write on there. Another tag here. I love this image, the paper. You can put a little picture here if you don't want to hide the image. A little title. And here, Twinkle Little Star, and I have the tag that says My First Steps. They can journal on the back. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed making this album, and I hope you're going to send me pictures of your completed projects. I'd really like to see them. You can send them to scrapinrabbit@gmail.com, and you can also get my email address from my website, www.scrapinrabbit.com. And I hope you'll really enjoy this tutorial, that you'll make many albums like this. And all the best.